So I wanted to make a model viewer as an extra mode in my game, but I couldn't find a tutorial for it, so thought I'd show you guys a simple setup for this that you can use if you want to make something similar. This is actually really simple to do. Just pose your character and add an up-down input controller. And yes, this voice is AI generated, because you don't want to listen to a Swede trying to speak English. Now the model viewer mode is on its own level, and it uses the first person template, so if you don't have it, just add it to your project or migrate to it. Here's how it looks like in default Unreal 5.7. You can uncheck the visibility on the character meshes, hide or delete them. It doesn't really matter as long as we don't see it in game. We want to keep the rest the logic, just not seeing any character meshes in the first person blueprint. I lowered the camera to be able to get close to the feet while still keeping collision. You could do this in other ways, but this is a quick way to do it. The idea is that we can move up close to the feet of the 3D model we're looking at, without clipping through the character or the floor itself. Once you've done that, go to the movement component and change from walking to flying. Also search for flying and tick can fly, and you may want to change the speed values. I have it set to 100 here, plus braking to 800. You can play around with these values. You probably want it pretty slow for a model viewer, like I'm doing here. Now you can see here I've renamed the first-person game mode to Fly, as well as the character, so it's easier to identify. Remember to override the game mode and world settings on your level that we use for the model viewer. We need to make a new input action for the up-down movement. The whole idea here is to keep the original logic from the first-person template. Open up the new input and change from digital boolean to vector 2D. That's all we need to do inside the action input itself. Now open up the controller mapping for the character. Again, I renamed it and appended fly at the end to not mix up with other controller mappings. Just search for IMC default if you can't find it. In here, you first add your new input action with the plus icon, and then the keyboard keys we want to use for up and down inside that input. I used E and Q in this case. We want to have a scalar modifier to make the camera movement nice and slow. I found that 0.3 looks nice. Another important thing here is that one of the keys should have an extra modifier called negate. Sounds complicated, but basically it allows the reverse movement, and that's what we want. Up and down movement with E and Q keys in this case. Now these drop-down menus are confusing, so I'm keeping this on the screen here for a bit, but yeah, it's easy to go into the wrong sub-menu. I'm recording this on ultra-wide monitor, but if you watch the video full screen you can see the entirety of the IMC settings here. So, scalar modifier on both keys, and one negate modifier, but just on one of the keys. And that's all we need to do in here. Moving on to the event graph of the first-person character, the node setup is really simple. Get your new input action for up-down movement and split the action value pin. Now drag out from triggered and get the add movement input. Get the controller under pawn. Make sure it's the right one. And then from get controller, you drag out get actor up vector and connect the return value to world direction. That's all the code we need. We may also want to adjust the spring arm and camera to make it fit the purpose of this model viewer fake character. Search for lag on the spring arm, and play around with values that you think look good. Camera perspective is going to be personal preference, but one interesting thing you could do here is combining a zoomed-in lens, and also adding a scroll in out thing on the camera. This way you could get really up close to the character, while still respecting collision. I haven't added scroll in out here yet, but there are tutorials for that if you want that functionality. For the actual level itself, you want to block out how the camera should be able to move, set up some nice lighting, and add a player start. Remember to add a ceiling as well, so the fake player camera can't escape through the roof. Here, I have these white walls set to hidden in game, so I can still see them when working in the editor. So yeah, short recap. Use a first or third person template. Hide the character mesh, but keep the rest of the logic. Change movement mode to flying. Make a new input action for up-down movement, and add some very simple logic in the event graph. Here's an example how it looks in my upcoming horror game, Surviving Sweden. We can go into an extras menu and find some cool stuff, like viewing hero models in 3D. Instead of a loading screen, I just added a short fade and that autoplays via a level sequence to hide texture pop-ins. It obviously loads faster than a real level, but still nice with a little fade in effect. You can just add a keyboard shortcut and gamepad button to exit the model viewer back to your main menu. I'll probably do a text overlay for this purpose that fades away after a few seconds, so the model mode stays nice and clean. You don't want a bunch of annoying text covering the screen, it kinda defeats the purpose. I'll be posting more stuff as I go with my horror game. Hope you found this tutorial useful.